Let's talk about the epic comeback win by the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday afternoon, and they were able to punch their ticket to the NFL playoffs this year. The 49ers beat the Rams 27-24. This was the sixth straight win over the Rams for the 49ers. They were down 17-0 at one point in this game. Sean McVay, he was previously 45-0 when leading at the half. And so in this game, Jimmy Garoppolo, he was great. In the second half, he went 23 of 32. He threw for 316 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. For the LA Rams, Matthew Stafford, he went 21 of 32. He threw for 238 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So who was the biggest reason for why the 49ers were able to overcome a 17-point deficit? I got to admit, Jimmy G really, really impressed me in the fourth quarter of this game. And I want to read a few quotes by 2 individuals I respect who played at the NFL level. Let's start off with Troy Aikman, who called the game with Joe Buck. And before I get into this, I want to say, watching this game, it was a playoff atmosphere in LA. Like, watching it, at home on my couch, it felt like the playoffs were already here. I mean, the intensity that the LA Rams and the 49ers played with in this game, it was a playoff atmosphere. And listening to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman call this game, they did a great job. And so here's Troy Aikman on Jimmy G. He said, quote, "What a job by Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, just some big-time throws." And then here's Terry Bradshaw on Jimmy G. He said, "You got any questions, anybody, about Jimmy Garoppolo and his heart and his determination, his poise under fire, his comeback ability, great throws, clutch throws? I'm telling you, they were all answered today." That was Terry Bradshaw on Jimmy G in his performance. And Jimmy Garoppolo was outstanding. Let's talk about his final 2 drives in this game. 2 drives that saved the 49ers season. Jimmy G, he went 8 of 10. He had 133 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He had a passer rating for 152. That was Jimmy G on his final 2 drives that helped the 49ers secure their playoff berth. And I was impressed with Jimmy Garoppolo. That drive that he had that helped the 49ers tie the game up at 24 apiece before they went to overtime, that 88-yard drive was probably the best drive I've seen Jimmy Garoppolo put together at any point in his career. He made big-time throw after big-time throw. And I know Deebo Samuel, he was impressive in this game. He had 4 receptions, 95 receiving yards. Brandon Ayuk, he had 6 receptions, 107 receiving yards. Jennings, he caught the touchdown pass that tied the game up at 24 apiece, that sent it to overtime. All of those receivers contributed to the 49ers winning this game. But the 49ers would not have been able to win this game without Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I got to give Jimmy credit for the comeback, but I also have to place some of the blame for why the 49ers were down 17 points in the first half on Jimmy G's shoulders as well. Because if I have to give you credit for putting out the fire, I also have to blame you for starting the fire. And he had 2 bad interceptions in this game. He had 1 interception in the second half that I thought would have cost the 49ers, but it didn't. That great interception by Jalen Ramsey, tipped it up like 3-4 times, finally caught it in the end zone. That was a bad throw by Jimmy G. He also had an interception in the first half. He had a fumble as well in this game. So while I have to give Jimmy G credit for bringing the 49ers back and this great comeback performance, I also have to place some of this blame on the shoulders of Jimmy Garoppolo for the 49ers being down 17-0 in the first half. Like, you can't be down 17-0 in the playoffs against these elite teams like the Packers, like the Buccaneers, and expect to be able to come back. And I'm going to get to the Rams in a bit because I thought they were disappointing in the second half in this game. But like I said, Jimmy Garoppolo, I've been critical of Jimmy G in the past. He was great in the second half. He was awful in the first half. So when you talk about the 49ers and whether or not they can be true Super Bowl contenders, it depends on which Jimmy Garoppolo shows up. If you get the Jimmy G that played in the second half, the way that he did against the Rams in the playoffs, then the 49ers are legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and they can upset the Cowboys this weekend at Jerry World and be a legit threat to either the Packers or the Bucks, in the playoffs. But if you get the Jimmy Garoppolo that played awful the way that he did in the first half, then the 49ers will be one and done and be watching the rest of the playoffs on the couch with the rest of us, because we know they got one of the best coaches in the NFL in Kyle Shanahan. He's one of the best play callers in the NFL. We know offensively they got two great weapons in Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. And one thing about Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, they don't run around you. They run through you. That's why I always say the 49ers, they're one of the most physical teams in the NFL. Deebo Samuel and George Kittle are both physical football players. We know that Ayuk can make plays, for them in the passing game. We saw Jawan Jennings catch the game-tying touchdown pass. So they got some weapons offensively that they can rely on. And we know, they got one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. Like, this is a team in the 49ers who never go away from what they do best, and that's running the football. And in this game against the Rams, they rushed for 135 rushing yards. 135 rushing yards. So they one of those teams who they line up, they say, hey, we about to run right at you. What are you going to do about it? And I remember there was one drive in the second half. I want to say the 49ers, they ran it at least 95% of that drive. Every play ran right at that Rams front seven. I mean, I'm looking at Floyd, Donald, Von Miller. They had no answers for this 49ers rushing attack in this game. No answers whatsoever. And this is the second time we've seen this happen. You remember earlier in the season when the 49ers played against the Rams in the Bay on Monday Night Football, the 49ers dominated the Rams in that game running the football. 49ers, they have one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL, and they have one of the best play callers in Kyle Shanahan. And then you look at the 49ers defensively. I don't think their secondary is very good. I think their secondary struggles in the passing game. I think you can throw the football against this 49ers pass defense. I mean, when you look at their numbers this year against the pass defensively, I feel like you can throw the ball on them. They are ranked 6th in the NFL. They give up 206 total passing yards. That's actually pretty good. But I think the reason why they are 6th against the pass is because they rush the passer very well. I mean, you got Armstead up front. You got Bosa up front. So they got playmakers up front. We already know how I feel about Fred Warner. He's one of the best young linebackers. We talk about best linebackers in the NFL, young linebackers, Fred Warner, Devin White. Those are two players that I think should be at the top of your list when it comes to young linebackers. So this 49ers defense, they can get after you. They can definitely get after you and apply some pressure on your quarterback. And I thought that was a key in this game, as well. Like, they had 5 sacks in this game. So they was applying pressure on Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams. But when it comes to the 49ers overall, I'm telling you, if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't turn the football over and he plays good football, he don't have to be great. Because even when they went to the Super Bowl, Jimmy G wasn't great. You remember in the NFC Championship game against my Packers, a game that still gives me nightmares, Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 8 times. He threw the ball 8 times. So Jimmy G doesn't have to be great. They just need Jimmy G to be good and not turn the football over. If they do that, the 49ers are not only a team that could pull off an upset in the wild card round, they could be a team that could represent the NFC in the Super Bowl because they got one of the most physical teams in the NFL. Defensively, they can get after the opposing team's quarterback. And again, offensively, they can line Deebo Samuel up anywhere. They can line Deebo Samuel up in the backfield, and he can run the football like a running back. And we know what he brings to the table in the passing game. George Kittle, he's the top 2 tight end in the NFL. Travis Kelce, George Kittle, take your pick. Who would you rather have? I love them both. I think I would give the slight edge to Kittle because Kittle is a better blocker in the running game than Travis Kelce is. But, this 49ers team is legit. And they have been the kryptonite to my quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. They are a part of the reason why Aaron Rodgers has not gotten back to the Super Bowl. And we don't know how this is going to play out this weekend. But if the 49ers upset the Cowboys and the Bucks beat the Eagles, guess who's coming to Lambeau Field in the divisional round of the playoffs? It's going to be the 49ers. And they're going to be coming up to Lambeau hot, feeling great about themselves, knowing that they have beaten the Packers before in the postseason. And they have been a nightmare for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. A complete nightmare. You remember in 2012, Colin Kaepernick, he had 181 rushing yards against the Packers defense. My man Charles Woodson, great player, great Hall of Famer. Clay Matthews, he was a part of that Packers defense. They got completely lit up in the running game that night when Harbaugh was the coach of the 49ers. And then I think a few years later, the 49ers, they came to Lambeau. It was freezing cold, and they beat the Packers again at Lambeau. I think they beat the Packers 23-20. It was the game where Aaron Rodgers had came back, and I think early in that season, he had broken his collarbone, but the Packers were favored in that game. 49ers strolled right on into Lambeau and beat the Packers, in a pivotal game that the Packers needed to advance. So we've seen the 49ers break the Packers' hearts in the postseason. I hate the 49ers. I'll be the first to tell you. And I'll be honest, watching this game, I was praying that the LA Rams pulled this game out. Because if the 49ers would have lost, they would have been eliminated from the playoffs because the New Orleans Saints beat the Atlanta Falcons. So the Saints would have gotten into the playoffs and the 49ers would have been sent home. So I was actually rooting for the Rams to win this game. I know what the 49ers are capable of. I know how they have been Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite. So I was praying somehow the Rams find a way to win this game. But it did not happen, which leads me to the LA Rams as a team. Watching this game, it's a few things that stuck out to me. Number one, the Rams struggle to stop the run. Again, the 49ers had 135 rushing yards in this game. But on the flip side, offensively, the Rams can't run the football. They only had 64 rushing yards on the afternoon, and that's a part of the problem. In order to take some pressure off of Matthew Stafford, you have to be able to run the football. Now in this game, they got back Cam Akers. He had 5 carries for only 3 yards, but Michelle, he got majority of the carries, 21 carries, but only for 43 Rushing yards, he averaged 2 yards per carry. 2 yards per carry. And that's a part of the problem that I have with Sean McVay and the LA Rams. You have to be able to run the football to be a true Super Bowl contender. You can't rely on Matthew Stafford to drop back to pass 40 or 45 times to win you football games, because we have seen the more you put on Matthew Stafford's plate, the more chances are he's going to turn the football over. We saw a few weeks ago against the Baltimore Ravens, Matthew Stafford threw some interceptions in that game. And then in Sunday's game, he had 2 bad interceptions. He threw an interception that sealed the game for the 49ers. He completely underthrew Odell Beckham. He completely underthrew him. That's my biggest issue right now with this LA Rams football team. They don't do well at stopping the run, and offensively, they don't do well at being able to run the football. And that could come back to haunt this Rams team in the playoffs. That could come back to haunt them. Like, they average 99 yards on the ground per game. So 99 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 25th in the NFL. And then defensively, against the run, they're not very good. And you would think they would be better considering they got Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd and Von Miller up front. You would think they would be better. I don't understand why they struggle to stop the run. Like, it throws especially when they play the Niners. For whatever reason, Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers, they have the Rams number. The last 6 times they have played, the 49ers have beaten the Rams. 6 straight times. So, like, in the playoffs, going up against some of these teams that can run the football, like the Packers, I could see the Rams having some trouble. And they match up in wild card weekend will be against Kyler Murray in the Arizona Cardinals. If they struggle to contain Kyler Murray, the Rams could be in trouble Monday night. They could really, really be in some trouble. But I thought in this game, there were moments I was watching this game thinking, I don't trust Matthew Stafford in the playoffs. I really, really don't. Like, I saw some throws that he made that was head scratchers. Like, what are you seeing? And I thought he got a little rattled. The 49ers, they had 5 sacks, but I thought once they applied pressure on Matthew Stafford, he started pressing, and that's why you saw him throw 2 interceptions in this game. And it's levels to this. Let's just be very, very clear about that. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, those quarterbacks, they can handle the pressure that comes with the postseason and having to win playoff games. Those 4 quarterbacks I just named, they can handle the pressure that comes with being able to win playoff games. And there's a few others. Some others who aren't participating in the playoffs this year, like Russell Wilson. I think Deshaun Watson can handle playoff pressure. I think the jury is still out on Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, guys like that. I think the jury is still out. I said Joe Burrow, and I know everyone's probably thinking like, well, Joe Burrow hasn't even played a playoff game yet. Listen, I believe in Joe Burrow. I saw Joe Burrow win a national championship at LSU, and he just does not ever seem to get rattled. Like, when I watch Joe Burrow play, I never see Joey B get rattled. I saw Matthew Stafford in a regular season game, week 18, with a 17-point lead, get rattled in the second half. I saw it. And so that's my biggest question for this LA Rams team as they head into the postseason. Will Matthew Stafford choke under pressure in the playoffs? Because that's what the playoffs are all about. It's all about those pressure moments. And I think Matthew Stafford, if you rattle him, I think that could be a recipe for success for opposing teams going up against this LA Rams team. We know they got talent. We know offensively they got a top 2 receiver in the NFL in Cooper Kupp. They got a great receiver in Odell Beckham, who's been producing since he's been in LA. Higbee at tight end. You got Cam Akers in the backfield. And then defensively, they got stars. You got Jalen Ramsey. You got Aaron Donald. You got Von Miller, a proven playmaker at linebacker. So we know they have the personnel that can win a Super Bowl. The biggest question that I have for this LA Rams team as they head into the postseason is, can Matthew Stafford step up in those pressure moments in the playoffs for his team to be able to win games and get this team back to the Super Bowl? Because they traded a lot for Matthew Stafford. Jared Goff was able to get this Rams team to the Super Bowl. Now, we know Matthew Stafford is better than Jared Goff. But at the same time, for everything that the Rams gave up to acquire Matthew Stafford, they traded for Matthew Stafford for the postseason. So we're going to see what Matthew Stafford is made of. I mean, you look at his numbers this season, right? He had 41 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. He threw for close to 5,000 passing yards. He completed 67% of his passes. So we know Matthew Stafford is a good quarterback, but in the playoffs, going up against Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, the Rams need him to be great. They need him to be great, not good. And he can't continue to turn the football over. I mean, 2 interceptions last week against the 49ers. He had 2 interceptions against Baltimore. He had 3 interceptions against Minnesota in week 16. So the last 3 weeks, he's thrown 7 interceptions. 8 interceptions if you include week 15 at Seattle. 8 interceptions the last 4 weeks. Come on, Matthew. I need more. I need more from you. Sean McVay, I need more from you as well, because you traded away Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford. So, Sean McVay, I need to see you be able to perform in the postseason and get back to the playoffs. All the money that the Rams have spent, they brought in Odell Beckham this year. They traded for Von Miller. They got Aaron Donald. They got Jalen Ramsey. They got Cooper Kupp on the offensive side of the ball. They got Tyler Higbee. They got so many weapons and so many dynamic players. This is a put up or shut up postseason for the LA Rams. And I want to see what they're made of. And in this game against the 49ers, a game that they had in the bag, leading 17-0 at one point in this game, it showed me that this LA Rams team has some things they need to improve on before I believe they can go on a Super Bowl run. I mean, 17-0, you got to close that deal. Now, good thing for the 49ers is, good thing for the LA Rams is they still were able to win the NFC West because the Cardinals lost to the Seahawks. So they were still able to win the NFC West because of had the Cardinals beat the Seahawks, then the LA Rams would probably have to go to Arizona versus playing Arizona at home in LA. So, they could thank Russell Wilson and the Seahawks for that. But, I mean, this team, I got my questions about this LA Rams team. Now, let's talk about the 49ers and the Rams before I move on to my next topic. Which team has the best chance to go on a deep playoff run? I'm going to say the 49ers. And here's why. I believe the LA Rams are a more talented team than the 49ers. I believe that Matthew Stafford is significantly better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I believe that Cooper Kupp is better than Deebo Samuel, although Deebo Samuel is to be respected. I believe that Aaron Donald is better than any of the 49ers players defensively, even better than Bosa. I think Aaron Donald is better than Bosa. But the reason why I say that I believe in the 49ers to go on a deep playoff run more so than the Rams is because the 49ers stay true to who they are. And I think that is a team that can go on a deep playoff run and upset a few teams in the postseason. The Dallas Cowboys, they should be on upset alert. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to give my predictions for the game on Friday's show, but I could see the 49ers going into Dallas in Jerry World and beating the Dallas Cowboys. I can see it. So the reason why I say the 49ers has a better chance to go on a deeper playoff run than the Rams because they stay true to who they are. They run the football effectively, and we know great defense and a great running game travels. It goes everywhere. You can take that with you on the road, in the playoffs, and win in any atmosphere. I can see the 49ers going into Dallas and beating the Cowboys. I can see the 49ers going into Tampa and upsetting Tom Brady and the Bucs. I could see the 49ers, sadly, coming to Lambeau Field and upsetting Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I could see it. The Rams, they just so inconsistent. Matthew Stafford's so inconsistent. I just don't know what I'm going to get from the Rams. Talent is there. It's there. But like I look at the Rams kind of how I look at the Cowboys. They got talent, but it don't always come out. Like they don't always perform. Like we know on paper, Cowboys, Rams arguably are the two best teams in the NFC on paper. Rams, Cowboys on paper are the two best teams in the NFC, and a healthy Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, maybe as well. But the Rams just don't execute. Like the Packers and the Bucs, they execute. Say what you want about my Packers, but the Packers are consistent. You know what you're going to get from Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Matt LaFleur. I don't know what I'm going to get from the LA Rams, with Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, and Aaron Donald. I just don't know what I'm going to get. The talent is there. They remind me of the Dallas Cowboys. They're the Dallas Cowboys out west, but they just don't execute like the Packers and the Bucs. So I think the 49ers have a better chance to go on a deep playoff run more so than the LA Rams.